Good morning, everyone. Welcome to City Hall and to our council chambers. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our invocation today will be given by Pastor Don Lavelle with Corpus Christi Christian Fellowship. Pastor?
Thank you very much, Mayor. And let us all pray. Heavenly Father, thank you very much for who you are and for what you have done. We acknowledge you, and we don't use you to help us do what we want. We come to you because you're the all-wise God. We called you the Almighty. You told us that you would help us, and we ask you to help the mayor and this council and the city manager and his staff. We ask you to help them. Give them the help that comes from God. That's everlasting. That's enduring, not short-sightedness. We ask you to help. Why? Because the scripture says that the Spirit helps in our weaknesses, for we do not know what we should pray for as we ought. We don't understand those things that are in the dark. But you also promised on here in this council and in our city. We conclude that if God is for us, then who can be against us? Therefore, we invoke the favor of God. Invoke the favor of God upon this council, upon the mayor, upon the city council, the city manager. I pray today that you would resolve to do your will. I pray that the only will done here today and every day is yours. And lastly, make Corpus Christi different from those cities and councils that do what they want or are controlled by other interests rather than yours and those of the local community. Cause us to be in lockstep with you. We will not insist on our own way, and as a result, we will live in peace and harmony. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag, to the United States and to the Texas state flag, it will be led by Mariah Grimaldo. She is a 12th grader from Premier High School, and she is also fourth in her graduating class. She will be planning on attending TAMU CC, and she's working towards her certification in billing and coding and phlebotomy.
Please join me in the Texas Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm so sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in honoring the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you, Mariah, and good luck in your studies. You did great. Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. Here. Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Jim Klein.
Here.
Mike Pesley.
Here.
Everett Roy.
Here.
Dan Suckley.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the Council, and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. So we'll go on to item E, and that is our City Manager's comments and update on city operations. Mr. Zanoni.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Mayor and City Council and members of the community. We have one item on our City Manager's report this morning, and it's to recognize one of our teammates who has decided to retire after 36 years of work with the city. So we didn't want to let that slip by, and the retirement's not till January 12, but we want to recognize it while we have time this year. So today we want to recognize Randy Page. He's an assistant fire chief and also has the title and the rank of fire marshal, and he'll be retiring on January 12 next year, 2025, after dedicating 36 years of service to the city of Corpus Christi. Assistant Chief Page began his career as a firefighter in 1986 with the Refinery Terminal Fire Company in Corpus Christi, and he spent 2 years there as a firefighter. And then in October of 1988, he was hired as a cadet firefighter for the Corpus Christi Fire Department and became a certified firefighter and paramedic in 1989. In 1995, Page was promoted to the rank of fire captain, where he supervised various fire engines, including daily supervision of all ambulances in the fire department at the time. In October of 2006, he was promoted to his current position as Assistant Fire Chief, where he has served for the past 10 years as the department's operations chief. And since 2016, he also served as the fire marshal for the city. So just a reminder to us of what the fire marshal is for the city. It's a unique position. There's only one. But that fire marshal is responsible for the protection of life and property through code enforcement, plan review, fire inspections, and fire investigations. That's the job of the fire marshal. The fire marshal also engages in community outreach to educate the public about fire safety and promote safe fire practices, like having a smoke detector in your home, especially this time of year. So, and then just as a side note, just so the development community and others know the difference, and we know the difference, to strengthen the city's efforts in inspections when it comes to new development plan reviews, the city hired a fire protection engineer. We recruited and hired. That was something that was on my list to do 5 years ago. Prior to that, the city was using a consultant in Fort Worth, Texas, to do this work. And as you can imagine, trying to get on site here in Corpus was difficult because of that arrangement. So through efforts with the fire department and development services, we brought on a fire protection engineer. And so that position is a civilian position. It is in development services, but it reports to the fire marshal, to Chief Page in this case. And together they review fire sprinkler systems, fire alarm plans, and they attend preliminary code meetings for new construction. So back to Chief Page. Chief Page, through his career, in addition to doing those fire duties, also has helped the city through numerous emergency incidences and disasters. And he's given back a lot of his career to serve not just Corpus Christi, but the Coastal Bend region through EMS teaching with first aid classes that he's done through the Coastal Bend. So, and then on a personal note, I've worked with Chief Page for about 5 years now, or over 5 years, and I think I speak for most here in the city, which is we know Chief Page is a very dedicated, very steady person in the fire department that's going to be hard to replace, not only the way we see it, but I think the development community as well. So Chief, we're going to miss that, and I think our community will as well. So following his retirement, which will be next month on January 12th, Assistant Chief Tony Perez, who's here right next to Chief Page this morning, he will serve as the acting fire marshal for the city of Corpus Christi, while Chief Wade eventually makes a permanent appointment for the fire marshal position. So at this time, I'd like to have Chief Page come up to the podium over here. I'm going to meet him and present him with an honorary fire helmet. He gets to take his home, I guess, but this is an honorary one. We have a plaque and a certificate as well. I'd like to have Chief Wade meet me there as well, which is going to, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Congratulations. Thank you. 36 years. Yeah. There's a little certificate here that the mayor and I signed.
Okay.
Yes, sir. A little flag as well. We'll read the flag. Chief, you want to read the flag?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chief will read the flag.
For sure. So, Randy Page, Assistant Fire Chief and Fire Marshal, presented to you in recognition of over 36 years of exemplary service dedicated to the residents of the city of Corpus Christi. Your contributions, sacrifice, and service will never be forgotten. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I needed to look this way or that way. So it's been 36 years, Mayor and Council, and it's been a wonderful 36 years. A lot of things have changed since then in the fire service. for the better. And, I've shared this with Peter a few times since he's been here, that over the last 5 to 7 years, we've had in the fire service better support from council and city manager and his staff than we've had in the other 30 years that I worked here. So certainly it doesn't go unnoticed by me. It doesn't go unnoticed by the firefighters that y'all support every day. And we appreciate it very much. And so I'm retiring from the fire service, but I've got a couple of grandkids that'll keep me busy. And since I have the podium, we still got some work to do with suicide awareness. And that'll be something that we continue after we leave the fire service. And I want to invite you all on March 22nd to our 8th annual Walk for Colton out at Cal Allen High School. Again, just thank you for all the support over the last 36 years. I worked with some wonderful guys, a few nuts, but most of them have been pretty good. And Peter, when you hired Chief Wage, you hired the right person at the right time for our department. I've told him I wish we had more years to work together, but sorry. it's time to go. He's been really good, so we appreciate that, and I thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, thank you so much for your everything you've given. 36 years is a long, long time. But you're starting a new chapter, and like you said, the walk, the 8th annual, that's something that we'll continue to support. But thank you for everything that you have done for the residents of this city and for the fire department. We appreciate you very much. Yes, sir.
Mayor, that concludes the city manager's report for this morning. Thank you, Chief Page.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to go ahead and start our public comment a little early then, and that would be item F. So I'd like to take just a moment to emphasize the importance of this business meeting. We handle significant matters concerning taxpayer dollars, making it imperative that we uphold the highest standards of decorum and adherence to our policies. Our core principles of openness, transparency, and inclusiveness guide our actions, and we aim to achieve them while respecting our City Council policy, which has been in place over 30 years. Public comment serves as one avenue for communication, but it's certainly not the sole method. You can also reach out to members of this council by way of phone call, emails, or even scheduling an in-person appointment. With that said, let's proceed with public comment, keeping in mind the importance of decorum and the adherence to this policy. Before we begin, I'd like to ask City Attorney Miles Risley to review the City Council meeting rules of decorum, and the rules will also be displayed on the television screens for our audience's reference. Mr. Risley.
All citizens must be courteous, polite, and respectful of one another, including the City Council and city staff. The mayor and council members shall be referred to by title and/or title surname. All remarks must be addressed to the mayor and council and not to the council members as individuals. Citizens are only permitted to speak on city-related subject matter. Speaking on any non-city-related matter is prohibited. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed. Citizens must refrain from any disturbing noise, demonstration, or other act disrupting to the City Council business.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. So individuals will be called upon in order that they signed up electronically. We'll first hear in-person comments, followed by virtual public comments. Residents of Corpus Christi will be given priority over non-residents. And if you'll please state your name and the city in which you live before beginning your comments, it would be much appreciated. You have 2 opportunities to make public comment on an agenda item or city-related business. First is at this present time, and second when the item is actually heard. Please select one option. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes, while non-resident comments are limited to 1 minute. A visible timer positioned near the City Secretary's desk will assist in managing this allotted time. And if you have a petition or relevant information, please present it to the City Secretary before speaking. So with that, we will start with Mr. John Weber.
John Weber, Corpus Christi. A link in written comments goes to the whole recording I shared at the last council meeting. From the Tampa Bay Business Journal, the plant was closed November of 2023. It produced 33.4 billion gallons of water since 2007. That is just over 5.38 million gallons a day. The plant was designed to produce 25 million gallons a day. That's a big shortfall. Steve Ramos's travel request, Maria Corona's travel request, William Creech's travel request, Drew Molly's travel request. Drew Molly, and it appears all four of them went to Tampa Bay March 3rd through the 5th. I haven't heard Mr. Molly speak about his trip at council meetings. He did speak about them on a local radio show.
Earlier in the year, we met with all the experts. Tampa Bay has a desal plant. It's very similar. It's 25 million gallons a day. They've been running it for 15 years. We got a really fine tour during that visit. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was I was asking the leadership team in Tampa Bay, where is the salty water going? Where's the concentrate? I want to see what that looks like. And they said, well, we're saving that for the end. So at the end of the tour, they took us to a marine life sanctuary. And in a channel that was isolated, far less water movement than what we see where we would be discharging in our inner harbor, there is a marine life sanctuary where you have 500,000 visitors in Tampa Bay come to this marina, and they basically watch manatees, dolphins, sharks swimming around in this channel where the concentrate is discharged. I've got pictures on my phone.
I received this email from Paul Stanek, the Chief Operating Officer of Tampa Bay Water. He confirms the plant was shut down on November 2023. He also states the October 2024 restart was delayed. They are still on track to getting it going by the end of this year. The statements Mr. Molly made on the radio show were misleading. He failed to mention the plant wasn't in operation. He also failed to mention the marine refuge was created before the desal plant because of the warm water discharge of the power plant. Did Mr. Molly share with the council that the desal plant wasn't operating when he and his staff got their tour? A lot of taxpayer money was spent on this trip to tour a non-operational desal plant. As reported, it will cost more than $500 million to keep this plant open for the next 20 years. So even after you build the plant, there will be significant additional cost to keep it running in the later years. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Marvin?
Mayor, I'd like to make a couple of comments, please.
Hold on. Councilman Presley.
Pardon me?
No.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Molly wasn't asked the questions that Mr. Weber is referring to by the radio station DJ that he was interviewing with, and maybe the questions never came up in his visit. So I think it's very unfair to make those accusations when there's no data to back up what the question scenario was when Mr. Molly was being interviewed. Thank you.
Okay.
I believe that in order to make any kind of comments during public comments, it should be related to statement of fact. Opinions or statements is not appropriate at
public forum, which is inappropriate. Public forum, which is inappropriate. That would certainly be a welcome response to her suggestions. Thank you.
We're looking into that. We are. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to move on. Alrighty.
No, we'll move ahead.
Marvin Jones. Is Marvin Jones here?
I think he may have canceled since that item got pulled.
Okay, Marvin Jones is not here. Bob Corbett?
Same.
Alyssa Mejia? Okay, Adam Rios?
Adam Rios, resident here in Corpus Christi, Texas, creator and founder of Pony Boy Skate Company. Just want to read a few things here. Pony Boy Skate Company, again, strives to create a brand with unifying principles and properties in a way that can take roots within a community. I just wanted to talk about something really important that happened over the weekend, Shop Small Saturday. A really big deal, especially in Corpus Christi. I myself teamed up with Wildflowers Gift Shop downtown at Water Street Market, and we just sort of helped lift each other and bring more awareness to our brands here in the city. And that led me to want to talk about small businesses here and nationally, things that you should know about small businesses. Job creation. Small businesses employ 47.1% of the private sector in the United States. And I'm proud to say that 100% of my employees are all residents of Corpus Christi. Now, mind you, I'm the only employee, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep it local. Small businesses drive innovation and boost economic growth. Small business support local charities, sponsor community events, and play vital roles in their communities. For example, I was approached to design a skateboard for the Westside Business Association. They had several sponsors. They had a very modest budget. It takes a long time to really create a skateboard. I don't know if you know that. These aren't just manufactured and stamped out. This is 7 layers of Canadian maple that is very hard to shape, very hard to print on. And I probably take a loss for doing this, but it's a part of the community, and 20 kids are going to get brand new custom boards. And that's what I mean by small businesses and their ties to the community. Small business ownership and self-employment are very important avenues to economic empowerment, especially with people with disabilities and minorities. Small businesses supply many of the components needed by larger companies. There are over 5 million small businesses in the United States, creating over 70% of the net jobs. That's just since 2019. You're talking about 66% of employment growth. This Friday, if you weren't able to participate on Shop Small Saturday, is Art Walk, which is a big deal here in Corpus. Draws thousands of people downtown, a lot of independently owned and operated vendors. I'm excited to say that one of my skateboards is actually going to be featured at K-Space Galleries as a work of art, because they started to understand the science behind it and the artwork that I put on it. And all I want to do, again, is remind everybody to what my motto is. You want to think global, but you want to support local. And I'm hoping to see everybody at the lighting of the Christmas tree on Saturday, bringing the community together. I'm about to run out of time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Alyssa Mejia, I think you walked in. Yeah, there you are.
Hey, I'm sorry I had trouble getting here. My name is Alyssa Mejia. I live at 41 Camden Place, and I'm here to encourage your support today of Agenda Item 32, which is adoption of the Bayside Area Development Plan. I had the pleasure and honor of being one of the plan's advisory members. I was invited for the Parks and Rec perspective as then chair of the city's Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. I'm also a trained researcher, but my involvement has always been personal as well. I've spent 21 years living in the Bay Area of Corpus Christi. I also work, shop, dine. I do a lot of recreation. I visit parks. I own property. I attended university, and my twin girls go to school in a public school in the Bay Area. And I have watched the city's planning and community development team do a stellar job of representing the residential, economic, recreational, educational, and environmental interest of this area in the plan. They did great public engagement opportunities. It actually had really good turnout, better than I see for a lot of these types of efforts. And then I saw them go back, revise the plan, really incorporate what people were saying. I felt like it reflected and improved what the community wanted, and over time what it came out to really represent, I think, what is going to make this community better. I strongly believe the plan will accelerate a positive trajectory for the Bayside area and strengthen the city as a whole. And I wanted to thank Amanda Torres for leading the plan. It was a great effort. The planning members would be there at all of the meetings. There was a lot of group support, a lot of good teamwork. And I want to encourage that y'all adopt it and actually really use it and refer back to it over time, because I think it really will help us with cohesion and planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Rachel Caballero.
Rachel Caballero, 522 Hancock. Happy Thanksgiving and welcome back, I guess. I'm here because I want to remind the public that when some of us come here, it's not for really to get elected, but to expose all the bad decision-making that's happening behind this dais. We told you your water rates were going to go up. And they are, because we can't seem to get it together as a council, and because elections can be bought. Go figure. Even in Corpus Christi, Texas. Who knew that? I surely didn't, but here we are. Some of us come here week after week to expose how you guys lie and manipulate the community and mislead them. And that is factual. Only in the city of Corpus would our elected officials go to a desalination plant that is not functional, call it a tour, and say that, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Hopefully, at some point, there will be better decision-making behind this dais. And it's very nice to see Councilman Hunter and Mayor Guajardo being nice to each other.
Thank you, Ms. Caballero. That concludes our public comment. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to item J, our consent agenda, items 2 through 31. Do we have any requests to pull any items, council men and women? Item number 22. Number 23. Okay, item number 11 to abstain. Anything else?
Yeah, Mayor, the staff's gonna take off the agenda item 30 and bring it back after more work with some of the trade groups.
Okay,
So item
so
number
we'll
30.
pull item 30?
Pull 30, yes, ma'am.
Okay, was there another one over here? Which one, Council? 20?
No, I said number 7.
Number 7?
I'm sorry, I went off with my list at once. So give me just
That's fine. Councilwoman? Number 20. Let's see, hold on. You said 17? Okay, anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of items numbers 22, 23, 11, 7, 20, and 17.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please submit your vote. The motion carries. So item number 22 is an ordinance disannexing approximately 15.4 acres of the land at or near Nueces Bay Boulevard. And who pulled 22? Councilman Hernandez. You want to turn your light on? Okay, your question or comment, sir?
This specifically is de-annexing property that the city is purchasing, and we're not going to be paying taxes on it, so I'm curious as to get the full explanation as to why we need to de-annex property the city is going to be utilizing.
Dan, maybe Miles will answer that question.
The land for the desalination plant is being purchased from Flint Hills. The contract for the purchase of the property requires the completion of a development agreement that will be applicable under the sections that apply to the areas of the extraterritorial jurisdiction. ETJ is by its definition outside the city limits. Therefore, in order to make this section apply, the development agreement section of the Texas Local Government Code, we are required by the contract to do in order to do the closing to disannex this property.
Okay, so to put that in English, we're basically de-annexing property because it's part of the contract that we made with Flint Hills.
Right. We will ultimately be the owner of the property that we're just annexing.
Okay, as part of that contract, if we, for some reason, do not build a desal plant on there, then we have to sell it back to Flint Hills, is that correct?
Yes. Flint Hills will have a repurchase right, and that is actually their main reason, is to create an enforceable repurchase right for Flint Hills, so that if we don't build a desal plant, they can get the property back and they will be able to use it for their purposes.
Okay, so would we re-annex it at that point in time?
Yes.
So is that part of the contract, that if we do sell it back, that it would be sold back and annexed back into the city?
It will be re-annexed into the city, and it can be re-annexed anytime after the closing.
Okay, so it's just for the closing, so technically we can bring this back after the closing and re-annex it into the city?
Yes, but we'll own it at that point.
Okay, thank you.
I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Please submit your vote. Okay, the motion carries. Item number 23, Councilman Hernandez, was that you as well? No. Who was 23? Okay, and this is a one reading ordinance rejecting the requested assignment from Air Products to HEP Javelina of the current Chapter 380 incentive agreement. Councilwoman Campos, you turn your light.
Thank you. I just wanted to just make a statement. I don't support this 380 agreement, and so I'm going to just be voting against it. So that was my main reason for pulling it.
Okay.
I move for approval.
Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. I have also concerns about this as well. The more of these 380 agreements that we enter into increases the tax burden of all other property owners in Corpus Christi, and so I'm going to be voting against this also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Did we have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion? Please submit your vote. The motion carries. The next item pulled was item number 11, and that is a motion authorizing a construction contract with Max Underground Construction for the reconstruction of Timbergate Drive. And council members, who pulled item number 11? Oh, you're abstaining. Okay, it's just to abstain. I'll entertain a motion. Councilwoman Campos.
Okay. Yes, I was looking at the engineer's probable construction costs of $7,900,000, I believe, and it came under, way under. So I'm just wondering, how did we have such a large discrepancy? How did your team miscalculate so much?
Well, this is the consulting engineer's estimate, and obviously we want them to be close to it, but we don't want the engineer to be the low bidder either, because then we usually have to go looking for money. So this is a good story.
Yes.
The engineer overestimated. It came in well within that engineer's cost estimate.
Well within. That's why I was just wondering, how is it that that this was projected. But again, I just wanted to see if there was anything else that our engineering department or the consultant can do to close the gap on these.
Yeah, we'll certainly try to do that. Yes,
okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, can I add to that, Councilwoman? So this is good news for the city,
Yes.
without any doubt. And I'm talking to another consultant this morning. In fact, it's a good sign that this is a good place to do business. So bidders have confidence in City Hall, in us paying them on time, and us having good working relationships. That's why a lot of the contracts on today's agenda have almost a dozen bidders, which helps us and the taxpayer because prices come in lower. So there's savings there that will be realized and can be used for other projects. So it's a good news story. Just on
No, I do agree, and that's why I wanted to highlight and find out, to try to see that, to emphasize, if we're doing something right, the city is doing something right, to emphasize that, yes, we do need more of those type of bids coming into our city. So, thank you.
Yeah, and we had 7 bids on this. Usually, if you have somebody that's real low, that's a concern, but the first 3 grouped fairly closely, so, we feel like that's a reasonable value for the project.
I noticed that, yeah. So it was a good sight to see.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We
Second.
have a couple more comments. Councilman Hernandez.
This is on a 2022 bond package, and we're just getting to it now after we voted on the 2024 bond package. Can you tell me kind of what the holdup was in the design of this project?
I don't have that information right now. I can do some research and get you an email. Obviously, we would have liked to be at this point a little bit sooner, but what we're seeing is that to get a project awarded to a designer, get a contract scoped and negotiated, and then get it designed and ready for bid it's difficult to have that done before the next bond cycle. Now, it can be done, and there's one item on your agenda today where we're awarding a contract for the police substation that was the same way the funding was on the prior bond for the design, and we do have the construction contract to award today, but that's a little bit of a tall order to do on all of them.
Okay, the reason I bring this up is because I get this finger pointing kind of thing. You ask an engineering group saying, well, we're waiting on engineering to review our designs, and it holds up the process. And then, sometimes on your guys' side, you say, well, they're taking too long to design. And so I want to deep dive on this to make sure that we're not doing this, we're not blaming each other in order to get these things through. If you ask some of these engineers, especially a street like this, Collector or Timbergate, it shouldn't take 2 years to design. And in our case, it's 6 months before we can get the actual engineer on board through the RFQ process, and then a year and a half of waiting around on the design seems a little excessive.
I'll get you an email, sir, and I'll find the facts on that and.
Okay.
Sure.
I just want to go through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Jeff. I want to come back to Councilwoman Campos' comment. The discrepancy here is so large. Is it reasonable for the council to expect cost overruns going forward now for this project with Max Underground Construction because they came in so far under what the estimated cost was from the engineering department?
I don't think so. We're going to manage them to their bid. That's kind of what we do, is make sure they deliver what they bid on for the bid price.
Right, so the council should not expect to see this in the future agenda, cost overruns for this project on Timbergate.
I wouldn't think it would pose any heightened risk, elevated risk for that. We typically have change orders. If you look across our whole portfolio, it's under about 3%.
Right, okay, thank you. That's all I have.
And Councilman Pusley. Councilman Pusley.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment, Peter. This is a great project, and I think there's at least 3 projects on our agenda today that are being approved for street projects in Council District 5, and I'm very happy for the folks that live there, and congratulate Councilman Hernandez on his tenacity for getting projects done for his district. I'd just like to say that with respect to some of this savings, hopefully we can push some of that over to some very needed projects over in District 1, like Corn Products Road that I've been harping about for the last 4 years. And as everybody knows, I've got one more meeting besides this one, and I'm going to go out swinging. And yes, Rachel, thank you very much for your applause there. I appreciate that. I just want to say we desperately need help on some of those streets in District 1, especially the industrial streets in our precinct. We have District 1 represents a number of the industrial districts here in this area, in this city, and I'm hoping that some of this money can be shared with District 1.
Yes, sir. Noted, Councilman. Thank you.
And with that, and with the outburst from the audience, Miles, I'd like a review from you about someone coming up to the podium and accusing the members of this council of being liars and cheats and all the things that Ms. Caballero accused us of a while ago. I don't think there's anything in the Open Meetings Act that allows that. But I could be wrong, and I'd like for it. You had your 3 minutes, Rachel. Your 3 minutes are over.
Ms. Caballero, please.
So, anyway, you don't have to do that now, but whenever you have a chance. Thank you.
Councilman Roy.
Excuse me. You know, this project, I had a constituent ask me the other day. They said, you know, one of the things we're doing right now is that we're working on streets, and are we forgetting about curb and gutter and sidewalks and all those things? And one of the things I said is, if we're deemed necessary, then we are making sure that we do the right thing. And so, again, I think this is a good project because we're not just sitting there overlooking, and then when something needs a total overhaul, that we're doing that. So that we're not just ignoring those things, because at the end of the day, I mean, it is quantity, but it's quality also. So I'm glad to be able to see that in District 5. And I do want to echo what Councilmember Pusley said, is that, you know, there are some sections, not only because now I work in District 2, but there's sections in District 2 and District 1 and other districts that could benefit from this type of overhaul. So keep that in mind, and I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edmonds. So this is a good news item because it's coming in under. So I'm appreciative, and of course we're familiar with the work of Max Underground. So there being no other comments, I'll entertain a motion. Was there a motion, a second? Okay, please submit your vote. Rebecca, did you get that?
No, I didn't hear the second.
Who seconded?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Please submit your vote. Oh, abstain. The motion carries. Next item pulled was item number 7, and that is a motion authorizing execution of a 32-month cooperative service agreement with Fraser for the uplifting and installation of parts and equipment on 3 replacement F-450 medic units. And who pulled this item? Councilman Pusley? Okay, your question or comment?
Yeah, this is just a comment. Chief Wade, this is a great item, and appreciate you bringing it forward. My daughter had to be rushed to the hospital the other night because she became very, very ill. And it was very comforting to know that we called for an ambulance, and less than 10 minutes somebody was there. There were 3 very highly trained medics aboard that ambulance. They took very good care of her, and it certainly was comforting to know that, number one, she was going to receive great care between her home and the hospital, and that the unit would actually make it to the hospital.
Yep.
And the units that are being retired, I read, are like 9 years old. And many cities don't get that opportunity. In fact, our own county government are driving vehicles that are much older than that they somehow bail and wire together. But I appreciate the fact that this city steps forward and does the right thing. And when people accuse this council of spending too much money, well, here's an item. We don't have to do this. We could cut this $1 million out of the budget. We don't have to replace these. We could order the chief to make them work however he has to. but when your loved one is in the back of one of those ambulances, it certainly gives you a different perspective. So, Chief, thank you very much, and please share my thanks from our family with respect to how they cared for our daughter. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Sorry that you experienced that and she experienced that, and hopefully she's on the mend. But I can't speak highly enough about the medics and the firefighters that we have and that y'all support every single day with items like this, but everything else that goes with it. We are blessed to have some of the best in the country, if not the world, and I'm glad that we're able to take care of your family. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief Wade. Yes. Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Chief, for stating the fact of this company. I was reading, it led me to go back and read about this company and how they started and how renowned they are and what an expert, and they are experts, if not the leading company in the United States. I mean, they're just phenomenal, and I'm just grateful that they're located here in Texas. I understand from reading that they're actually expanding to Florida. But again, this seems to be a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. And thank you again for the support, because we do not only want to take care of our patients and our loved ones, but we want to get them to the hospital as well without breaking down on the side of the road. So thank y'all for your support.
Right. And just one more thing from reading this company, that they actually worked with the fire departments from Houston and then from other cities, you know, trying to figure out what would be the best way to create these vehicles, and that, you know, every single time that I guess one is created, that is specialized just for that particular city or that particular.
Absolutely. We're able to spec it out for our needs, for our community. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Wade. Okay, with that, I think we have a motion and a second. Who seconded? I'll second. Please submit your vote. The motion carries. The next item pulled was item number 20, and that's a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with the Port of Corpus Christi related to land in industrial districts. Councilwoman Campos?
I had pulled that one again. I am voting against it only because it continues to put us on the path of the desalination in the Bayfront, and I'll be voting against that.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Please submit your vote. The motion carries. And the last item pulled was item number 17, resolution adopting the City of Corpus Christi's legislative agenda for federal legislative priorities for the 119th U.S. Congress. Who pulled this item? Councilwoman Campos, your question or comment? Can you place your light on, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I had pulled this. After reading the agenda, the legislative agenda that we have set up, I just wanted to offer one other quick amendment, if we could, to include high rail funding, if there's any funding or for planning, permitting, and construction of high rail speed to San Antonio is what I wanted to include as part of the amendment to our legislative agenda.
Madam Mayor, Ryan Skrabarczyk, Director of Intergovernmental Relations. Councilwoman Campos and I did talk about this. It was not included in the base resolution. It was not a staff recommendation, although I certainly understand the Councilwoman's intent behind it. But due to the competition with CCIA and our need to compete as a regional airport, that's the reason it wasn't in the original resolution.
So that the focus is more so on the airport.
Well, yeah, I think the reality is very specifically this project of high-speed rail in the state of Texas is a very complicated one. Certain state leaders have actually actively worked against the one that was proposed from Houston to Dallas, and so it has its own challenges politically. But that aside, the concept of a high-speed rail straight to San Antonio puts CCIA in direct competition. And so we know that that's a priority, is making sure that people choose to fly out of CCIA, and we wouldn't want to do that to harm our own enterprise here.
And CCIA, just for the record, is Corpus Christi International
Yes,
Airport.
thank you, sir.
We don't want to basically lose our air service right to San Antonio or.
Well, right, because we fly to Houston and Dallas, the concept of folks not choosing CCIA and us damaging our own airport business here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me hear some comments. Councilman Hernandez.
Right. I had this conversation as well, that I was against putting any kind of high-speed rail, even voted against it at the Council of Governments because it would be negatively affect our airport. If you could get a high-speed rail to the airport up in San Antonio, then we would basically kill our own airport, and I think that's a negative. Also, the subsidies that you would have to have for a rail line are incredible. Just being on the RTA and looking at what that really looks like, even inside a city. I mean, it's a massive cost that is heavily subsidized, so I would recommend against it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. I just second Councilwoman Campos' amendment.
Okay.
If I may.
Councilman.
Go ahead.
Councilman Hunter.
So, your amendment, can you explain this a little bit more? A lot of state lawmakers are pushing the big triangle for high-speed rail. And for us to be included in that would be great, especially if the destination was our airport. So what are you proposing?
If you'll put your light on, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you. Actually, you know, this comes from just my recent travels. Since I traveled to the East Coast, I see, you know, rail as part of just, you know, part of the transportation. And yes, subsidies are, we subsidize for the airport, we subsidize for rail, we subsidize for, you know, the highway. So subsidies should not be an issue here. But what I do have an issue with your statement or your concerns about the airport is that, you know, we should be looking at multiple ways of commuting. I mean, one of the things is that we need to look at the future. The future is fossil fuel. You know, it is, we do a lot of traveling back and forth with our vehicles. And this would just offer another option. And because not just this previous administration, but the one before that and the one that's coming in is also supporting transportation, fast, you know, rail transportation. So I don't think we should be missing out if there's any way that we can, you know, continue to still support the airport, but also if there's ways that we can support high rail. The main reason that I also have been advocating for this is that we have a large community of elderly that travel back and forth to San Antonio for their medical appointments. And this would be, again, you know, our elderly, you know, they're getting older, they can't maybe drive the cars or what have you. And this would be another way of transportation going to those cities. But also, it would work both ways. We would have people from the Austin, San Antonio area coming into Corpus Christi and, you know, choosing us to relax by the beach and, you know, just to enjoying our area.
Okay.
So that is the reason that I offered the amendment.
Thank you, Council Member. So what we are suggesting is to include Corpus Christi in the large triangle going forward at the state legislature's potential high-speed rail.
Important to note, this is the federal legislative agenda, not the state. But I think the intention also, if I could clarify Councilwoman Campos' intent, is to draw down federal dollars associated with and I guess supporting federal dollars and the ability of
the federal government hasn't shown any interest in this, only the state has, so.
Right.
Actually, private, but.
The state has shown a lot of interest in this. Why wouldn't the airport benefit from it if that's the location? Most pretty much everywhere around the world. It's either right next to the airport or it is the airport where these high-speed rail programs go into, so they would be the ones generating the revenue.
It could be the case in conversations with our airport director.
I mean, that's where the railroad's right across the street from it.
Right. It could be. I think the reality is one of the biggest bleeds of customers from Corpus Christi is folks who drive to San Antonio to fly out of their airport, as opposed to utilizing our airport as that regional airport to connect via Dallas or Houston. And so it's just a competing transportation model. I only offer that up as a concern, having spoken to the airport folks about that. It is certainly a possibility that the state may want to look at that. I just recognize that it has some challenges, both logistically and functionally, about how it would work. And I'm sure that as an entity, we would want to do a further analysis of how that would actually impact our air service.
Thank you.
Councilman Barrera.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Ryan. I think, although I understand the intent of the initiative, I think it requires a great deal of vetting because there are consequences associated that, or unintended consequences that we have to vet, such as exactly, we've spent, in fact, I'm in the middle of completing my questionnaire that the airport sent me as a business owner, so that way we can have more direct flights out of Corpus Christi. And meanwhile, I also talked to some friends that went to Colorado over the Thanksgiving holiday, and they drove to San Antonio. I said, no! But anyway, so, that's particularly, with regard to the issue with regard to medical appointments, I think we need to do our part to try and recruit more doctors. And if we had any funds, that would number one, that would cultivate the business that we have here. And we need to recruit those medical professionals so that way they can come to Corpus Christi. And I know that in times, I remember during the Perry administration, there was this line of rail that he anticipated all across Texas and ran into a ton of eminent domain pushback.
Right.
And I myself this morning drove in from Austin, and I was so excited to get to 37 because I spent, there was an accident on 35, and it added about 45 minutes to my commute. So, I say that because it's a supply and demand issue. Mm-hmm. If the challenge were that there would require a demand for, and there is some construction on 37 to Corpus Christi, I couldn't find any workers, and I had to slow down to 60, and I did. Well, maybe 67. But that's the thing. There's not a great demand. If there were a great demand, then TxDOT would seriously be looking at it in particular and expanding those roads other than the 2 lanes that we have on each on side. And it's very safe there. So I understand the intent. I think it's well intended. I understand. I think it's well intended. But once again, now I know recently I talked to some holiday people that drove to Dallas. And the corridor between on 35 from Austin or San Antonio all the way to Dallas now is a ridiculous amount of time. Mm-hmm. Now that would be understandable. It's a supply and demand issue. Even though we might benefit, there's just too many consequences that I think that has to be thought out. And as you said, we just need to do some analysis on it.
Well, Councilman, if I could respond, we talked about this yesterday evening, and so without the inability to fully understand the traffic implications and the push-pull of customers, it wasn't something that we were recommending as a specific line from Corpus Christi to San Antonio at this point, not to state that the city's position is against rail or multimodal transportation systems. In fact, if you look at the federal agenda under transportation, we support federal infrastructure programs which promotes investments, and it does include the word rail.
Right. So
it's just not specifically, it doesn't, to date, the one in front of you, doesn't call out specifically the line to San Antonio.
And we have some other more specific needs with regard to access to the island. And so then if we were to engage in this, then we have to look at, okay, what does that consequence to do with any additional asset we have? Mm-hmm. So anyway, thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. I think, Councilwoman, I think it's a good suggestion. I don't think it's something that we should disregard completely. Today, I think it's critical. The airport is, and it has been for many years in terms of, competing for dollars. But I do believe that the triangle and just the collaboration to be able to be a part of that is extremely important. And like he said, it is in there indirectly. And so that allows us, right, to be a part or have some seat at the table there without jeopardizing anything, and really looking into this is vetting it a bit more, because it's a big statement to put in directly. But we got a few more people that would like to make comment. Councilman Pusley.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree, Mayor, and also agree with Councilman Hernandez. These rail projects are horrendously expensive and run into all sorts of things, and we've heard lots of horror stories about how much money they cost, and Councilman Barrera brings up good points about this. Really needs some sort of focus group study or something that puts a plan together that we as local elected officials and state elected officials and our federal reps can get behind and push. And although I will say it, when I had season tickets to see the Spurs, it would have been nice not to have, the drive up there is not too bad, but the drive home sometimes is a little tough. But anyway, I think we need to focus on, this is a good plan, and I think we need to focus on what's here. Thank you.
Oops. Councilman Roy?
Excuse me. So my question is, if we were to put it on the agenda in terms of something that it does it commit us?
Putting it on the agenda doesn't, it commits you in the form that you're publicly endorsing a specific project. I think that's why we have the general language in there, to allow us to fully analyze any proposal. But it commits you in terms of a signal of public support, but that's essentially it. You're instructing staff and thereby, the lobby teams who work on behalf of the council and the city to engage in these specific issues. So
if there was an opportunity that came up, let's just say that there was an opportunity and there were funds available and there was dialogue in terms of this project, it wouldn't prohibit us from moving forward.
No, as it is written now, no, we're not prohibited from moving forward. We're positioned to be able to participate in those conversations. Right. But I think we want to be able to conduct a full analysis of the impacts on the assets which we currently have.
I think right now we have a lot of balls in the air. We're trying to juggle a lot of different things. And I do agree, but at the same time, I see merit. I think there is merit, and I think at some point in time, we're going to have to face the reality of where we're at with transportation, and I know that I was a big proponent of trying to do something to broaden our flights, and as far as getting direct flights and additional flights here, and unfortunately that it didn't stick. But I do believe that at some point in time we're going to be faced to look at connecting into that transportation to San Antonio and then maybe up to Dallas.
Yeah, well, somebody who has to drive the road to Austin frequently, I certainly could appreciate an alternative. I think that's why the resolution, though, is written the way it is. Right. It's because it's really not clear, and it's something that we discussed with Councilman Campos, what entity would build it at this point, and which that is. There was Texas High-Speed Rail between Houston and Dallas that was proposing on that project, and so understanding those dynamics and how that would fit, I think, is important to that conversation.
And if I understand it, Austin went to the voters over this, and I can't remember the dollar amount. Was it $2.75 billion or something like that?
The urban rail, I don't recall off the top of my head, but yeah.
If I also understand recently that they put a moratorium or they shut that down.
Yeah.
So they stopped in terms of where they're at because of some of the challenges. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you so much. Really, this Ryan was about, and council, about just planting the seed. It's not directing us to say this is specifically for San Antonio. I made that example, but it could be, to the valley. It could be whatever. But I just don't want Corpus Christi to lose out again on federal funds that could potentially, help us. So that's why I was saying, as a generic, agenda item, if there is any funds that could be allocated to some type of project in the far-off future, at least we would have something to indicate, to private investors, because I think that's the way that I see it right now, is that it's actually private investors that would be looking into projects like this, not so much the federal or the state government, but really it would be private. So again, this was just about planting the seed, so.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Hunter.
Just to clarify, Councilmember, so you said this isn't necessarily directly San Antonio, but if there's potential high-speed rail in the state of Texas, we would like to be looking at the table, right?
Yes.
Okay. I've ridden on a lot of high-speed rail, and when there's the opportunity to use that versus a plane, everybody uses it, and we don't want to miss out on that opportunity.
Sure.
Then we will be excluded from the future triangle.
Yeah.
And that triangle has been discussed for over a decade. Mm-hmm. And if the state has $22 billion in surplus like they did last year,
it might be more.
That funding's probably not coming from the federal government if they want it.
Yeah.
Not the majority of the funding. If the state wants it, we just don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, and I think that intention is left clear with what was in the resolution presented, but.
Right. So to sum this up and move on, we have a seat at the table with what's in the agenda today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to.
No, there was an amendment for the second.
Okay, so there is an amendment on the floor to amend the agenda to include this, to include the support. Again, it's already included in terms of being able to have a seat at the table and discuss. So please, we have a motion and we have a second, correct?
What are we voting on?
We're voting on the amendment to the item, which is to add specific wording. What was the wording? Ms. Whitman?
I just have high-speed, to amend to add high-speed rail funding to our federal legislative agenda, support for that.
And I'd like to point out that we already have the verbiage in the agenda that allows us to have a seat at the table to have the discussion. So please submit your vote. Please, Ms. Campos, I'm sorry, we're moving on to the vote. The amendment is to add, you want to add the verbiage that Ms. Huerta just read, correct? Okay, I just want to make sure. We have who, she made the motion, the second was Councilman Klein? Okay, please submit your vote.
Should have worded it differently. It does. I don't want to go out. Should have discussed this beforehand.
Okay, the motion.
Okay, I move for approval
Fails.
of the legislative.
Mayor, if I could, when the motion is made, there's one correction on section 3. It was a scrivener's error. As you can tell, the headline of the resolution says 119th, which is correct. Section 3 incorrectly states 118th Congress, so we'd just like that be corrected so it's clear for staff.
Okay.
Section 3.
So do I need to make an amendment?
For the one, are you just?
Yeah.
Is that substantive?
Okay, we have a motion.
Okay, it's
to
not
approve.
substantive.
No.
We have approved.
I think we can just clarify for the record, and it's fine.
Yeah, approve as noted.
Yeah, he asked me a question, so I was just answering.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Please submit your vote. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, moving on. That takes care of our consent agenda. So we will move on to item L, public hearings. Item number 32 is public hearing on the adoption of a new Bayside Area Development Plan.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Annika Yankee. I'm one of the planning managers for the Planning and Community Development Department. It's good to be here today. Today's item is a public hearing item as required by the city's charter for our master plans, and we're going to cover the Bayside Area Development Plan, which, as you know, is a long-range 20-year plan for the Bayside study area, and it's an element of our city's comprehensive plan. It's one of our 9 planning districts. If we can do next slide. Use my clicker. Sorry about that. The adoption of this plan is going to replace the current plan, which was adopted in 1995. Again, today is a public hearing, and on December 10th, next week, we'll come to you with the ordinance and ask you for to vote on the adoption.
So today there's not a vote on this?
Today there's no vote. This is just the public hearing.
Understood.
Okay, so the Bayside Planning District, it's a 16 square mile area of our city. It's between Corpus Christi Bay and SPID, and Crosstown on the west, Morgan on the north, and the Oso Bay on the east. Contains about 25% of our city's population also. This is one of our older areas, as you know. Again, today is the public hearing, but we've been working with the community for about 2 years, consulting with them through surveys, open houses at middle schools. We had an advisory committee who met about 5 times to review the public feedback and to give us guidance on the plan and the way that we edited it along the way. To summarize this plan really in a nutshell, this is a table that explains how the plan is laid out. We have 3 vision themes across the top column: thriving neighborhoods, healthy places, and a connected network. Then we have 5 policy initiatives which serve as the chapters of this plan, and each of those policy initiatives is related to the vision themes. Those 5 vision themes are enhancing local business vitality and connectivity to neighborhoods, understanding and addressing Bay-related environmental issues, improving green and open spaces, prioritizing safe transportation for all, and introducing and supporting more housing options. That's all I plan to cover with you today. That is really the gist of this plan. And if you have any questions, I'm available here. But otherwise, this is today's the public hearing for this.
Okay, thank you, Annika. Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. What was the cost of this plan? What did it cost us? And who was the consultant? I'm sorry.
100. It was about $100,000, and our consultant was Asakura Robinson out of Houston.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm just going to make 2 comments, and I think the plan's fine. But, you know, we over the past 4 years, we've spent a lot, and before that, a lot of money on area development plans for different parts of this city. And time again, our Development Services Department will come before this council and say, although this doesn't agree with the area development plan, we're going to recommend this change anyway. And so we've spent all this money in engineering and study, and then we turn around and decide, well, we're not going to follow the area development plan. And we've been called out by the community for doing that. And so I hope that whatever we do, we try to stick to these plans and follow through with what has been designed here. And again, I'll say, I don't understand why we keep going outside of this community to hire consultants to do these area development plans when we've got plenty of local talent here who are familiar with how our city's put together, familiar with how our city works to help us create these plans. So that's my only comments. Thank you.
Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you just go ahead and elaborate why this plan is different from the previous plan as far as I'm concerned? I mean, I've lived here all my life, and I have heard, I mean, I think this plan has been in the works for more than 2 years, but I think this is the time where, you know, it has finally come to a fruition for we can actually see the input that everybody has made. So I just want to ask you again, what is the difference between this plan and the previous plan that we've had?
Well, off the bat, the format is a little bit different, but that's not so important to you. The 1995 plan is, there are similarities in the plan, and it's right that there are similarities. I will say that there's been new ideas and new policies and priorities since 1995 that are reflected in this plan that might not have been reflected in the old plan. I think that there are priorities and ideas around, for example, Vision Zero, which could have a tremendous impact on the community, the way streets are designed, that were not something that was not something thought of in 1995, for example. It wasn't a direction that the country was going. And so new ideas and new priorities are included in this plan. There's been progress and I say in the last 10 years, there's been progress with this city to improve, to test out the trash catchments at the bayfront, for example. That wasn't in the last plan. So really this plan takes an opportunity to look at the area. It also is an opportunity to touch base with the community. And I think that in and of itself is one of an important reason to do the plan. So we are looking at what are the priorities right now for this city, and how does that dovetail with the community's priorities?
Well, for me, I think it has been just a more engagement into the public, because I know I attended, I think, 4 of these public, what do you call them? Public.
Well, the open houses.
Open houses, I guess, and they were so well attended. But the problem with these in the past has been that maybe you've had them, but you've never incorporated any of these ideas. But it looks like in this plan, you actually are listening. So I, am grateful that we did have the funds to finally see this and see it, in a visual. Just back to that visual, though, you couldn't really see, I guess, on this, the policy initiatives on us, on our book, it's on page 27. But for the public, I don't think it's very visible. You've got it like a light green. But anyway, I don't know do we need to approve it, or is it just public hearing then?
It's a public hearing.
Okay.
There's no vote.
All right. So
the vote will be next week.
Okay. Well, hopefully my fellow council members will support it. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Annika. So I'm going to go ahead and open a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment on item number 32? Okay, there being no one, we will close public comment and move on to item number 33. And that is public hearing concerning the creation of the Mirabella Public Improvement District.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Arturo Marquez, Director of Economic Development. This is actually not just, but this is the public hearing for the Mirabella Public Improvement District, along with the ordinance, the adoption, and the creation of a PID. So just as a quick recap, we spoke about this during the last meeting, but I'm just going to go through it just to, give some items that we already spoke about on the last meeting. Here on this item list, you'll see everything that's required in order to submit for a creation of a PID. I'll skip over that one. You can see that at your leisure. Here, we're talking about the items that is required, which is, of course, the public hearing and the issuance of a letter that needed to have been issued out 15 days prior to this, which already was. The surrounding neighbors were issued out a notice that there is a creation of a PID that's being proposed here today. And then just as a recap of the actual project, of course, we are looking at a 300-acre place with ultimately just over 1,000 homes being created with an addition of 23 acres in parks in 13 miles of hiking bike trails. I just want to emphasize that this is an amenities-based development that, of course, goes above and beyond your regular sort of development, housing development that you've seen across town. And of course, I do want to mention that this is the creation of a pit. However, we as a department and as city staff are looking into or considering the creation of a TERS, not only over this property, but also in the surrounding areas. Again, just a quick recap, this is the location of the property, the 300 acres, closely in proximity to, I should say, to the London area. This is just, a layout of the 1,000 homes that are looking to be built over the next 10 years. There are some options of leveling up as far as, being able to move into this community. You do have the opportunity to, buy a starting home and actually move up twice within the same community, with a much larger, more improved home, if that is something that you're looking into. And of course, as I mentioned, this is an amenities-based development, so you do have a lot of, things surrounding the community, not only a clubhouse, a pool, some soccer fields, the hike and bike trails, some ponds, I believe, also ponds? Yeah, community gym, ponds, so definitely this is above and beyond, again, as I mentioned, to some of the other developments that we see across town. Here are just some pictures of the clubhouse and the pool, some of the parks. And for that, I do open it for questions.
Arturo, what did you say the build-out time was?
It's a 10-year build-out.
10 years.
Yeah, it should be completed by 2036.
Thank you. Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Arturo, thank you for the presentation. I may have missed this in the agenda items. Do you know who the developer is that we're working with on this?
Yes, it's going to be the Roats, and they actually are here present.
I'm sorry, what's the name again?
Roats. Yeah, Roats Development. And
Roats Development.
They're here in the audience.
Yeah, and they are here in case you have any specific questions.
Okay, and do we know how many landowners we're talking about here? Do we know how many landowners are involved in this? Is it just the one developer, or is there more?
Yeah, so there are 2 landowners for this specific area that we're talking about.
And is Ropes one of those? I assume it is. And the other one, do we know the name of the other one?
Yeah, it's London. Yeah, London proper.
London proper. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. Or hearing? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment on item number 33? Okay, there being no one, we'll close a public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, can I just make a comment real quick? We
Sure.
did want to recognize, and Councilman Klein brought it up, but we do have Nick Rhodes in the audience, a young gentleman, and one of his assistants, Brad Frisbee, they're with Rhodes Development, and myself and a few others from the city toured their developments in McAllen, and they're spectacular. The pictures that are included here don't do justice to what they will be developing, so we're real impressed with their development, the quality of the homes especially, and then the amenities that are offered to the homeowners that are on site. This will be very unique, first of its kind for our city. So we appreciate them being here today, appreciate the business model they have, and I think the community is going to be embracing this development without any doubt. So I just want to add that as somebody who personally took time to go visit it with Moses Mastagachi. I want to recognize him as well for setting up that tour. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Peter, and that's absolutely right. And I think most of us have seen some of the work, so we really do appreciate you being here and investing in Corpus Christi. Councilman Hernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to kind of point out that this is a public improvement district. This will be our second one in the city, and this goes back to when I advocated to create that policy in order to try and incentivize doing this, so we can have another way to pay for infrastructure instead of just through the trust fund. So this is one of those developments that will be helped by this process that we won't have to access the trust fund for it. So I think this is a good thing for us as a city to help development and have that infrastructure built as part of it.
That's correct.
So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we closed public comment, and I'm going to ask everyone to submit their vote, please.
We need a motion in a second, please, Mayor.
I think we did.
Is there a motion required?
No, there's a motion required here. The other one's a first, the other one's a hearing, public hearing.
No, ma'am, this has a resolution too.
Right.
Oh, it's a resolution, okay.
Yes, it does. It has a resolution
We have
as
a
well.
motion and a second. Please submit
Okay,
your
who
vote.
made it? I'm sorry.
Councilman
Thank you.
Hernandez and Barrera.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Wow, there you go.
Goodness. Okay, so you're an aye? Okay.
God. Yeah, it's on the record. It's on the record. Are we fixing that here or administratively?
I can't. So in the
Administratively.
minutes, it'll reflect
That's fine.
an aye vote.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for being
Take a
here.
picture of that.
I thought we
I was-
didn't take a vote till.
Moses, this is why.
That's what y'all do with me all the time.
Well, we did, well, it's not a motion, but for the record, it was stated publicly, right, that his intent, so, and the council heard that.
Let you change your vote.
Mirabella.
I'm just kidding.
All right, okay, we're moving on. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you for investing in Corpus Christi.
You said so I can say it
No, I can't, Gil. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to say that, but yeah, I pushed aye. I'm
I know.
not sure what happened.
We know you did.
I want to vote aye for that
We
item.
got you, Gil. I've never seen him so scared. All right, moving on. Individual, Section M, individual consideration items. Item number 34 is a motion authorizing a construction contract with KM Commercial, DBA Victory Building Team for the City of Corpus Christi Northwest Police Substation in District 1. Chief Wade, you ready?
I make a motion. Second.
We have a motion, Councilman Roy, and we have a second, Councilman Pusley. I'm going to open, this is a great news item. Let's see, I'm going to open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment on item number 34?
Mayor, if I may, I would like to make one comment about this. This is the first Bond 24 project that we're awarding a construction contract for, and we are exactly 1 month out from the date of the referendum where this was approved.
Perfect, very good. Thank you, Jeff.
Good work.
Yes,
Yeah.
good work. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
great work, Jeff.
All right, I'm going to close public comment if there isn't anyone that would like to come forth. And we have a motion. Oh, we have some comments. Councilman Roy.
Oh, yes. First of all, this is a very good news
Item.
project here. You know, West Guth is, it's amazing the things that we've done in District 1 to improve that park and to continuing to make improvements on it. I want to thank Parks and Rec, the police department and city staff for everybody that's worked on this, and really looking forward to it. I think it's well needed in the Northwest area, and everybody's excited about it. The people I talked to in the neighborhoods and that, they're excited. So we're looking forward to it, and it's a good day for District 1. Thank you.
It sure is, Councilman. And you know what, to add to that, just to give some context, we're going from 1,500 square feet, 40 parking spaces and no room for expansion, to 7,300 square feet and 60 secured parking, 26 parking spaces for public vehicles and 60 secured parking spaces for police vehicles and staff vehicles. So again, yes, congratulations, Councilman. This is very much needed. And again, another huge investment into our front lines, and that's, you know, our police department. I also want to make a comment about, I thought this was interesting, there's going to be a roundabout traffic circle at the entrance of Westcouth Park, and that's going to really improve site accessibility. So lots of improvements all the way around. Huge, great news item. We're very thrilled to support this project. With that, let me go ahead and let two more people speak. Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, I appreciate that, this is being done, but I'm a little perturbed that the police substation in District 5, which was a 2022 project, isn't coming up yet.
It was the same, it was on the same bond. We had design on bond 22.
I understand that, but the construction on and land thing was also on the 2022
correct.
bond.
And that one should be coming.
We needed more dollars for it, Councilman, so since we don't use COs anymore, we had to put that on the bond proposal.
No, I understand that, but
that's why
the fact that this one is second, and we were supposed to be a 2022 project.
Yeah.
The planets didn't.
So I don't know. Did Councilman Roy slip you some dollars under the table or something?
The other one's that one's coming in a few weeks, right, Jeff? Yeah.
Do mine first. No,
okay. We're letting the dust settle on the.
Obviously, it's with a little bit of levity there, but I am still wondering when is the District 5 substation going to come?
If it's going to be in January.
January, okay.
Well, unfortunately, you're only meeting one more time this year.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, just ditto Councilman Roy on this. This is a great project for Northwest Corpus Christi. For a long time, we've been trying to get a police presence in our area, and I want to applaud the police department for the selection of this. Saves the taxpayers a bunch of money. We didn't have to go spend a couple of $1 million on property. We're using existing city property. We're using a local contractor. I think that's great. So this is just a really great news project. I'm very excited about it, and like Councilman Roy said, everyone I've talked to is just pleased as they can be that this is going to be done in our area. It's way overdue. So Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. If everyone can please submit their vote now. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 35 is an ordinance amending ordinance number 032481 to adjust and reallocate use of funding from the American Rescue Plan Act.
Hi. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Cedric Avisan, Director of Finance and Procurement here. Before I jump into the presentation, I do want to reassure the council that we're not adding or deleting any projects to the ARPA funding, nor is there any additional funding. What we're doing here is some steps that we need to take to make sure that we're going to line up. What we're actually going to do is change our spending category for a couple of projects to make sure that we alleviate the pressures from the deadline. So what this will do are the steps that were needed to line up our budget, our ordinances with what we're going to report to the federal government. So just some background information. The city of Corpus Christi did receive about $67.6 million of ARPA funding back in June 2021. The city council did adopt an ordinance on how to spend this funding. I do want to note that the funds must be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and all funds must be expended by December 31st, 2026. So the approved projects back from 2021 consisted of downtown outdoor dining development of $100,000, North Beach drainage improvements of $5 million, citywide water line replacement of $30 million, city wastewater lift station upgrades of $18.4 million, stormwater improvements of $10 million, and contribution to the construction of fire station number 3 of $4.1. Where we're at as of November, expenditures to date from the total amount allocated of 67.6, we had 44.7 already expensed and spent. 19.1 million obligated with contracts. So overall, we have about 94% of the money either spent or obligated. We had about 3.7 million of the North Beach drainage improvements pending to be obligated, and downtown outdoor dining had about 74,000. In order to preserve that funding, we're proposing to recategorize those funds under the revenue replacement category for reporting purposes. And then within our memo is all the ins and outs that need to happen to bring those funds back into the downtown outdoor dining development, as well as the North Beach drainage improvements. And we also had 2 positions that were added back in 2021 to administer the grants and do the financial reporting for this. We have filled 1 position. What we're needing to do is appropriate about $222,000 to fund 1 position to close out this grant over the next 2 years. And we also propose eliminating the other position that was awarded. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here for questions.
Okay, Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. These all look very worthy projects. Was there any consideration given to allocate some of this money toward providing a service center for the unhoused or the homeless population here in the city? There's been a growing need for that.
Yeah, so the funding was allocated back in 2021. I'm not sure how that process was done. I know back in 2021 there was a lot of unknowns. A lot of cities received funding before the Department of Treasury put out its final regulations on how the monies could be spent, and so I'm not too sure what was considered, but the projects that are on there are allowable.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Hernandez.
Can you explain how we were not able to use this funding for North Beach, the drainage in North Beach?
I'm not too sure as far as the departments.
Yeah, we'll have Heather answer that. Yeah, ultimately we will be using the money for North Beach, just a different source of money. So Heather will explain it.
Yeah, so Heather Holbert, Assistant City Manager. It's not that we're not using the money for North Beach. Because of the contracting time period, we were not able to obligate that $3.7 million before the 12/31/24 deadline. And so what we're doing is that we have the other option that is allowable is to reclassify that as revenue recovery. That's what we did for the fire station. So the ARPA funds, the fire station was not was not included as an infrastructure project. What we're able to do is another category within the grant usage is revenue recovery. And so we utilized that money as revenue recovery and then applied it to the fire station project. So what we're doing now is that we are reclassifying it. Instead of going to an infrastructure project, we're recognizing it under revenue recovery and then putting it back into the project. So it's not that we aren't going to be able to use the funding or that we're not using the funding. The project funding stays exactly the same.
Okay, so, but you're still shorting our stormwater by 3.7 million.
No, the original.
Okay, you just said it was going to the fire station and not to stormwater.
No, that's another portion. The $3.7 million is going back into the North Beach.
From where?
I said it was like what we did for the fire station.
Okay, so you're taking it, moving it to revenue, and then going back to...
Exactly. We have to recognize it as, so within ARPA, there's different categories of how you can use the money. One of those categories is not for direct infrastructure, it's for revenue replacement. Once we recognize that as revenue replacement, then we can allocate it back to the project, and that's what we're proposing to do.
And that revenue replacement is where we had less revenue than what we expected during the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
So the federal government said if you lose money like sales tax or property tax, you can use this COVID money, federal money, to backfill your local dollars that you would otherwise got had the pandemic not existed.
Okay.
So we're going to recognize it in that category and then
we're allocating it back to the project.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that this can be trace this back and be accountable, so where we look at it and get it back to North Beach. I think it's been neglected for a long time, And, I want to make sure that whatever funding that we promise them, that we actually provide to them.
Yeah, the project.
Yeah, we are, Councilman.
It's not my area, but, I want to make sure that
we are.
actually.
So we had a briefing recently on the massive investment we're doing on North Beach, but they were being conservative last week when we developed this proposal, because next Tuesday we're bringing the drainage project to council for approval.
Yes.
It's this exact same project, so this will come up again next week. You'll see in the briefing memo the revenue sources, 3.7 will be there, in fact, much more for that total drainage project next
Understand.
Tuesday.
I just, like I said, I just want to make sure it's accounted for.
Yeah, and so just to assure the public and the city council, the total allocation to those projects has not changed.
Right.
And actually, if you want to bring the project back up, the presentation back up. Can you bring it back up on the screen, please? There we go, thank you. So this allocation here of the 6.7 million, it will remain the same. So North Beach will be receiving the $5 million in total funding. It's just that 3.7 million of that will be recognized as revenue replacement and then reallocated back to the project.
Right, and that's being very transparent. And to add, I think, everybody knows we're very committed to North Beach. We want to make certain that everything is mentioned. I mean, not that you would do anything otherwise.
No.
Yes, so thank you.
Sure.
Councilman, you done?
It's good, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Roy.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate that North Beach, I know that this council member, I've worked diligently in terms of bringing projects or talking and working with city staff and making sure that North Beach continues to move forward. My question is that how often do we do this? Is this something that in terms of this accounting, probably just curious from a banker's perspective, but how often do you do this type of transaction where,
So this would be unique to this funding. What we're doing it in order to meet the federal guidelines, so we can preserve that funding for this project. And so what we do is would be specifically for this grant only.
I see. Because I know that since 2017, I've never witnessed this type of transaction. So I thought when I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is unusual, and trying to follow the, I don't want to call it the shell game, but I was trying to follow the money and making sure that it was all allocated and that, of course, North Beach wouldn't be shorted. So.
Right.
Right.
The revenue replacement allowability is specific only to this specific grant.
Yeah, but so were you aware of this? That's the other thing. Is how did you come upon this? Did somebody is this part of your continuing education hours that you?
So when the grant came out back in 2021, I kept up to speed with the allowability. I started here with the city back in July about my previous employment. The way I approached it, what is the easiest way to spend this money and the quickest way to meet the deadline? The revenue replacement category was the easiest way to obligate those funds, meet the requirements, and then you bring those funds over to your general fund, and then you can move it out to a capital improvement fund. And so that's something I
commend you, because I thought it was pretty slick.
Yeah, thank you.
So, above board, but slick. And
yeah, and so the city did take advantage of it. I know Heather had that's our approach for the fire station fund as well.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Please submit your vote. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Item number 36 is a motion awarding a construction contract to Girling Contractors, LLC, for the Cole Park Plaza Shade Structure Project.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Second. We have a motion and a second, and I'll just say quickly, this is a very good news item. Very good news. Being a coastal city and the temperatures we have, shade is essential. So I want to thank staff and just reiterate that this is something, it's a big move for, a good stride forward, I should say, for our iconic park and pier. So we have a motion and a second.
And Mayor, just to highlight too, a local firm, Gurley Contractors, will be doing the work. They've done great work for the city.
Absolutely.
Numerous occasions. It was also designed locally, a local design firm. And this is something the council approved 2 budgets ago, but it will really activate that plaza. That was a good design feature, but without the shade, it's not being used a lot.
Right.
So this will complement the pier and continued investment into one of our signature parks, Cole Park. So we're appreciative of this project.
Absolutely. Councilman Hernandez, please.
This is more for parks. Since this is a canvas shade structure, and we have several of these throughout the city, and you know, over, in some cases, over playground equipment and that kind of stuff. In a wind event, what's the plan to address these things if we have like a tropical storm or hurricane comes in, and do you have a plan of action, and how do you do that?
Yes, sir. The shade structure right now will have, I think it's good up to 150 mile an hour wind, but we always will remove those, and so we'll remove those. Just like this summer when we had the weather event, we removed those vinyl shade structures off and kept them during the event.
Okay, and I can see us doing more of these. Another, you know, it's part of the plan for the Bill Witt swimming pool to have these canvas shade structures. So the more that you have these, you're going to have some sort of plan of action to address this, and how much time it's going to take. That also applies to pretty much everything throughout the city.
Right.
The more you have these kind of things, I want to make sure that we have a plan in place so we don't have a loss or damage to something like this if we don't take care of it.
Right. During that time of the year, during hurricane season or weather event season, I mean, we start probably 5, 6, 7, 8 days in advance of getting and removing these things. And so, you know, there's times like this summer as well, we removed some and nothing really happened, but there are obviously times that...
Better safe than sorry.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wondering on that line of common statements made by Councilman Hernandez, how long do we anticipate that these covers last? I mean, they're canvas, right?
They're canvas.
How long do they last? Because it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and I think 10 years is, and I'll get with, I'll make sure I confirm that, but I think it's 10 years that they're supposed to be up.
I think it's important to point out that the sale itself is just a small part of the cost. It's, the structures, the lighting, the other improvements are the vast majority of that cost.
Okay. All right. I was just curious if you could get back with me. I'd appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment on item number 36? Okay, there being no one, we'll close public comment, and I will entertain a motion to approve item number 36.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Motion and a second. Please submit your vote.
Oh, sorry. I missed it.
Okay, the motion carries. Item number 37 is a motion awarding a construction contract to Marshall Company for, I'm going to go ahead and read it so the public knows. A motion awarding a construction contract to Marshall Company for the Sherrill Park Military Monument Project.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. I want to thank Councilman Pusley, and I know we're going to have comment, but I want to thank Councilman Pusley, and I also want to thank our community leader and veteran, Mike Scott, who couldn't be here today, and he does send his regards. He had a prior commitment, but these two gentlemen really made great effort in making this come to fruition, and so I just wanted to point that out before we hear some comments. This is a huge, another really good news item for the city of Corpus Christi and for our beautiful Sherrill Veterans Memorial Park. Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for bringing this to us. I think this is a very good project. I'm asking you to indulge my failing memory, because as I recall, I think a number of decades ago, there was a helicopter mounted on a pedestal down in the downtown area, and it did not weather well. It had to be removed because of that. And if I'm remembering this correctly, what are we going to do differently this time so that this becomes a more permanent structure?
I'm not sure the facts around that. That was way before I joined the city.
Right.
But I can't confirm that is accurate. There was a pedestal that was further south than this, and there was a helicopter mounted on it. And I'm not sure the circumstances around it.
Yeah, Councilman, the answer is that it was at Sherrill Park, and poor maintenance was the demise of the structure. So one of the things we've been doing the past 5 years is better maintaining all of our assets, whether it's our water and wastewater infrastructure, whether it's our parks, even our roads, our police stations, our vehicles. So we have a much better maintenance plan. In the past 5 years with Hernandez.
Salt Air is going to do a number on this.
Excuse me?
The Salt Air is going to do a number.
Anything can do a number on it. So you need good maintenance, a good maintenance protocol. Robert Dodd's in charge of doing that in the Parks Department. We use tools like Maximo, a software system that tells you when you have to do certain maintenance protocol. So that's the difference. We have different administration, different professionals who are better at the job maybe than what we had years ago. And so we're promising that this helicopter will be better maintained than the prior one, which means it'll be here much longer. It's a big investment, and as Councilman Pusley will talk about, it took a lot of human capital and dedication to get that helicopter here, which is unique. It may not happen again without leaders like Councilman Pusley and Mr. Scott. So we have a commitment to better maintain it, to keep it for decades to come.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Klein, we've done some research on these, and I know Councilman Pusley we're putting a special coat on there as well. And I believe the last helicopter, and I was a little kid then, but it was a lot higher. And I don't know if how they got that high. This one's going to be a little lower, where it's going to be easier to maintain.
More accessible.
Yes, sir. More accessible for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's not higher because you're short.
Maybe that. That's what I'm saying.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, first, it's a great question, Councilman. And when we started this, I received assurances from the city manager and Parks and Rec that we would do a continuous maintenance on it, because Councilman Klein is absolutely correct. The last one we had up there, the city just got put up there and they never took care of it. It was actually blown off that pedestal twice during 2 different hurricane events or tropical storms, and they just stuck it back up there. So it was in pretty poor condition when the city finally took it down and disposed of it. But we will have to take care of it. And the design was done in such a manner that it'll be easy to unbolt it and take it down and do, if we need to do maintenance on it, or we can do maintenance in place. But anyway, I can't, and Mayor's absolutely correct. All the credit for this goes to Mike Scott. He and I were having lunch or dinner, I can't remember what it was, and I said, it'd be great if we could figure out a way to put a helicopter back up on a bayfront, because I always thought that was a really neat deal, and especially since we have the largest helicopter repair Army facility in the United States here in our own city. And he said, well, do you want to do that? And I said, yeah, it'd be great. And he said, well, my daughter works for Bell Helicopter, and the rest is history. His daughter worked to get it done, but I'm really excited about this. It's a great project. And we need to remember when we do the ribbon cutting on this that part of our contractual agreement is the CEO of Bell Helicopter wants to come here for that dedication, and we need to be sure we honor that. So anyway, thank you again to Mike Scott and everybody that's been involved in this, and Robert and I have actually been out to visit the helicopter a couple of times. Bell has been bent over backwards great. We found out that the tail rotor that they sent wasn't the right one, and they sent us a brand new one here just a couple of weeks ago, and so they have been over backwards to make this project work for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Roy.
Again, I want to say thanks to the city staff. I want to thank Mike and Mike Scott for working on this. You know, one of the things for me, and on behalf of all of the veterans here in Corpus Christi or South Texas, we thank you for this project. But a lot of times, as a veteran, and I actually had the ability to fly medevac when I was active duty, so it brings back memories. And a lot of times, unfortunately, veterans are forgotten. And this is just a part of a good way that the city is remembering those who fought and put their lives at risk for our country. And again, I just want to thank everybody on behalf of the veterans that we appreciate it. And I know that Sherrill Park, this is one part of many improvements and many things that we're going to be doing with Sherrill Park, and I'm excited and looking forward to it. I want to thank this council for voting and agreeing to be able to do this, and it's just a great day for me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, thank you. You know, and I appreciate this coming back, but the devil's in the details, right, in terms of maintenance on this particular item. And so you need to have it identified. Had Bell Helicopter provided you with the information you need to put in Maximo for the exterior maintenance of this helicopter?
No, they did not.
So what are you going to put in Maximo?
Well, once this is in and it starts to come to fruition, we'll make sure that, like I said, we've talked to other cities that have helicopters. There's one in Florida, I believe there's one in California that have helicopters on pedestals, and what they do to maintain it. Yes, sir, it's probably a good idea that we do contact them and get some maintenance ideas from them as well.
Okay, there's also another option. You know, we have CCAT here that's what they do.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you can work out something with them to help with that process, or they can give you some maintenance aspect to that, whatever that is. I don't want to just say we're going to do maintenance and then not really have the actual requirements in place. So I'll circle back with you on this to make sure that.
Sir. Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. So thank you. Is there any public, I'm going to open public comment, or is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment on item number 37? Okay, there being no one, we'll close public comment. And I believe we have a motion and a second, so please submit your vote. The motion carries. Before I read our executive session items, I'd like to make a clarification on something that was said earlier this morning or afternoon in public comment regarding the desalination, the trip that some staff went on in Tampa, Florida to the desal plant. So the Tampa plant, I just got some facts here, and I think it's important to make sure we clarify this for the public and anyone here in the room. And I hope Mr. Weber, I'm sure he will, see this and be more informed here. The Tampa Bay, pardon?
It'll come back to public.
The Tampa Bay plant was not running the day that the city staff was there, not because of failed technology, but because Tampa Bay's P3 contractor used a galvanized steel to support the membrane racks. The galvanized steel had a 20-year life, which Tampa Bay appropriately planned for. So a better design should have incorporated a stainless steel rack. City of Corpus Christi is not using a P3 contractor for this project because we want to better control cost and the quality of the design and construction. It is actually an accolade, not a liability, that Tampa Bay could shut down an entire water treatment plant and still provide water to their community. And this shows much resiliency and great planning on their part. And as mentioned before, they have an exceptional viewing area of the marine life where the discharge occurs. So those are just some clarifying points. It's important, it's not always easy to keep up with what's happening or why, or, sometimes it looks a certain way. So I like to get facts together, especially when it has to do with this project, such great, large in scale. So just wanted to clarify that. And so we have gone through the entire agenda. At this time, the city council is going to we're going to break for lunch and go into executive session on items 38 and 39 per Texas Government Code sections 551.071 and 551.087. And we will return shortly.
That's right.
We've already done.
Already.
Just like desalination, they've done others in California and in Florida.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and reconvene our meeting. Councilmember Barrera.
Mayor, I'd like to move to authorize the execution of amendments, agreements, and encumbrance of funds for legal, engineering, and other professional consulting and expert witness services and associated court reporter, copy, travel, data, and other costs for the lawsuit of Graham Construction Services Incorporated versus City of Corpus Christi, Xylem Water Solutions, and Atlas Copco Compressors versus Corolla Engineers, PC Travelers Casualty and Surety Company, Control Panels USA Incorporated, and Fluid Components International LLC in a total added amount not.
So there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.